Okay, thank you all. Certainly good. It's always different doing these via Zoom, but it's the way of our world sometimes. But first, thanks for spending some time with us. I've said it in several interviews, and Adam's heard me a bunch. I would say this. I think every coach in their right mind would say how excited they are about spring, and we should be. That's what we're born to do. But I'm certainly excited more than ever about getting our guys on the field and letting our coaches, our staff, and our players bond a different way. We've certainly done it in the weight room. We've done it in meetings. I've had a chance to get around a new roster and flip this thing into what will be our 2024 football team. But there's no more exciting time than to get out on the grass and go to work and doing what we love to do most. That's player and coach. So that time is now. We'll start tomorrow. Certainly excited about that. New wave, a new transition. It's spring season, which means it's growing season. It's what we want our football team to do. As I look at it from the head coaching chair now, I really look at it as an opportunity for us to learn how to practice. And I know that may sound simple, but I think that's our biggest, really our first call to arms first will be in this Tuesday, Thursday practice of week one will be what practice looks like, how we transition from drill to drill, how our coordinators allow us to transition and play and coach with great detail. And then certainly it's a reminder to our players it's a violent game, but there's no more important time for us at Troy here to make sure we keep our players that are here healthy. We've got to stay off the ground. We've got to learn how to take care of each other and learn how to practice and surround ourselves in a competitive environment, but keep our guys healthy. So that's the biggest takeaways that we've really stressed going into it, coming out of spring break. So we'll shorten the field these first two practices. We'll start in the red zone with our team periods to shorten running for our guys so we avoid soft tissue injury, or try to avoid that coming out of spring break, and then we'll just keep on ramping up as we go with padded practices. And of course, when we get into April, we'll head towards our scrimmages on Saturdays and those things. So just very excited. That's kind of the depth of where we are and how we've come out of our 8 weeks of training in the weight room, and this is where we see ourselves headed for tomorrow. So with that, I will hush and I will let you guys ask any questions you would want.
Hey, can I just go ahead, John?
Okay, Gerad, this is John Johnson as a Desert Eagle. Just curious as how much video work you've done as far as looking back at the guys that are returning, or is everything just wide open? How have you kind of viewed that?
Yep, I'll give you an honest answer. I really, in every stop that I've made throughout the years and throughout my coaching career, I've done very little of that. And the reason is I just don't think it's fair to form an opinion from video and or techniques and things that I wasn't responsible for in coaching or wasn't on a staff of. So other than being aware of who guys are and names are and who starters are or guys that have played at a high level, I think that's fair to say we know some things. I would say that for us, that minus that, I don't want to form any opinions about a player, both as a person or player, until we get on the grass with them. We'll know all we need to know by the time these 15 practices end. So very little has been done, minus to notice who is who and learn names and position.
Hey, Gerad, this is Rosie Langello at WSFA. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Coming off of what you just said, just your quarterback room and the guys that you've met already in the quarterback room, can you kind of describe Tucker and Goose and what you've learned from them just by talking with them?
Yeah, we've got a lot of time to spend together as they begin to learn our offense and installs, but also to have some meetings one-on-one and in small group to get to know them as well. Goose is the first one I would allude to, and that one's a little bit easier because I already had Goose's name and number in my phone from our West Virginia days. So that one was an easy transition for he and I both, along with Coach Reagan. It's pretty unique that has come full circle as it has. But I'll say this about Goose. He certainly brings off a leadership role to him. He carries himself with confidence but not arrogance. He is very hungry. There's a lot of hunger to him, like he has a lot of humility, but he's also hungry to prove himself to this football team. So that part I've been impressed with, and it's certainly something I would expect. Tucker in the same realm, as they both have competed their tails off in our Trojan War series of our workouts and preparing to be a quarterback in a new offense. Tucker has also done those things. The thing I love most about both of them together, they both have leadership qualities, and I think that is maybe the most underrated value of a quarterback. You have to be able to lead a locker room. And to be quite honest with you, I think you have to be able to lead and show that to people outside of the program and anybody in the building. I think it's important that people see a guy and say, yeah, whatever this guy has, he has leadership qualities. They both have that. They've both been impressive. They both have taken to Coach Reagan very well. So I'm anxious to see them get out and do it.
Hey, it's Craig Stevenson, Vail.com. Do you have any sort of update on Chris Lewis? And just from what I've read, seems to be dealing with this thing pretty positively. What does that say about him?
Yes. Well, it speaks volumes about who he is as a human being first, and then that he's a fighter. He loves his football game. He loves the game that has done so much for him. And he has aspirations of fighting this thing and get back on the field with us and playing. And all we can do right now is do our part to support him. And I think Trojan Nation has done that. I think this building has, our new staff has, as well as the old staff. It's a very tough thing to go through to come in, and all we've done is try to put Chris Lewis at the forefront of everything that we've thought and how we've managed to support him, because this is all about his fight, not ours. And so we've tried to do that the right way, and I believe we have. He has been so brave, so courageous, and had a positive outlook every time I've texted and or called or went to go see him. He's in the right frame of mind to defeat this thing. The things that I would maybe be able to allude to speak to, I would be very brief in that, probably Adam, just out of protection of him. But I know that there is a lot coming at him over the next 7 to 10 days in some scans and stuff, and then a surgery date to follow. So those are two big things that are coming at us that we're ready to support him on, and then he'll have those two things go, and then we'll know more when that happens.
Another thing, you've signed close to 40 players since you've been there, high school, JUCO, portal guys. Just how are you going to go about incorporating all those guys into your program over the next few months?
Yeah, wow. I tell you, every time you hear the number, it's like, okay, that's where we're at. Well, Adam's got work to do on the roster updates. We'll keep on challenging that all the way up till June. But listen, here's the deal. There is no more critical time to use the word we all want to use in this profession or business, and that's the whole culture piece, right? Like I have to be elite at making sure we know what we want our culture to be at Troy, making sure we recruit to it, and then making sure our staff is echoing that the right way, the same way, all of us are on the same page. And it is going to be a semester thing. We can't just build culture and say, hey, we're going to do it in the first year to 2 years, and then we're all set. Because as you all know, we're going to do this semester in, semester out, and yearly. And if we're all not on the same page, knowing we're building it more so by season, more than like 3 to 5 years, you'll lose it very quickly. So it's critical that we do that. Our weekly meetings we're calling our Battle Ready leadership meetings, are allowing us to remind our players of what is our culture, what are our core values, how can we help them live and live better off the field as well as on it, are going to be more critical that we carry those out in the spring, in the summer, in the fall, and then do it all again. We have to do that, because if we assume that somebody knows or that they will just fall in line with people that have been here, it'll be lost very quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gerad, it's Rosie again. I wanted to ask about Coach Reagan and him just being back at Troy for another stint, and him just having connections with so many former Troy quarterbacks. Now he has this connection with Goose. What's it like to bring a guy like that onto your staff that's been at Troy?
Well, any time that you can tie in a guy that is, first off, a good man, a good husband, and a good football coach that I've coached with and been in the fires with when it's all gone good and some not so good, that really just brings a lot of comfort to you as a head coach and or just a coach in general. And then if you tie in the piece where his family was born here and saw Troy and has an appreciation for what Troy is and excited to live here and be a part of this community, it's a perfect marriage. And if you tie that into what he knows about this place, the past players know him. He knows success here. He knows what it looks like. He knows what that feels like. He knows the past and has ties to our alumni and the guys that have put on this jersey and helmet, which are critical, and they think highly of him, and especially, like you said, to the quarterback room. And it's our goal, and it's certainly the standard, that we want to put another guy up on that wall when we run graphics. We want somebody that is on our roster now to have to change records and update walls and do those things, and we think we can do that here. It's what the rule kind of the quarterback room has been, and he knows that. So that's special to us, and I think he's the guy for the job, and I couldn't be happier that he's here with us.
And then also for Dontae Wright, he has a big challenge ahead of him, just replacing a lot of the defense that has left and the guys that have stuck around. I think Keyshawn Swanson. What sticks out to you just about Dontae and how he's going to bring this defense together to hopefully make it what it was?
Well, I think the first thing to notice is Dontae is very aware, just as I, and we've got a long pass with each other. He understands the expectations. He knows what the people of Troy are expected to see out of our defense. He understands that nobody is going to write an article and say, well, we've had a lot of turnover, it'll be okay. We're expected to play at a high level and win football games in year one, and we know that. He knows the task at hand, and I love that about him because he'll stare it right back in the fire. I think for him, too, he understands what we have to do to get it fixed in a hurry, whether it be to acquire guys and replace guys, but also then celebrate, as you said, some of the guys that we have returning that we believe in a great deal. And our guys that are returning are going to be ready to play at an expectation they've played at. And then the guys that we've added to our rosters are going to fall in line. We're going to hold them to a standard to get us back playing great defense quickly. And I think that's what you'll see out of his leadership. I think that's what you'll see out of leadership of the guys that were here. And then you'll quickly see out of the guys we brought in, they'll fall in line and help us lead as well.
Coach, this is Juliana Rickenbaugh from WAKA. I know you've talked about how excited you are for this opportunity. I kind of want to just know how this transition has been for you into being the head coach of Troy.
Well, I've answered this one a lot, and thank you for asking. There's so many layers to it. I think it's to be fair to all coaches that go through it, because I'm certainly not the only one. Our whole staff has done it for the most part, and coaches do it all over the country. And it's not easy. It's not easy to bring your 4 kids to a new place and say, hey, go to school and go meet new people. And then you get to a place like this and people just put their arms around them and make them feel comfortable. And you get cell numbers of kids and they start texting, they figure it out. And then you make sure your wife's settled, you get the house right, you make sure you've picked good there. And then you bring people in and just dive into the place. So there's that piece of it. And then there's the piece of learning new players and earning trust, which is the hardest part. So there's so many pieces and layers to transition. Fortunately for us, we've kind of grown to do it and know what it means. And if you kind of lay down your own maybe selfish ambitions and those things and just make it about the players and the people you're around, it makes it easy. And Troy's made that easy because of the people here. So a lot of layers to it, but certainly it has went as good as any move has or better in our short time here.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. First and foremost, I appreciate you all being on here. I appreciate you having me on here. Excited to be on here. Excited to be in Troy, Alabama. Be a part of this great university and the standards that have been set here. Our time here has been hectic, to say the least, but it has been great. The people here, as I was told before I moved down here, have lived up to the hype. They are terrific people. They are here. They've been here to help us in any way that we need. The young men on this team have been terrific. The culture in this building has been terrific. We're extremely excited. Both staffs, everybody involved, excited to get started with spring practice in the morning. We've had a great lead up to it, and I'm looking forward to build on what they've done in the past year. So that's probably the thing I'm most excited about is just to be around the guys and get on the grass. And then get around you all and the rest of the people in this great city and get this thing rolling.
Questions?
Hey, it's Craig Stevenson, AL.com. What brought you to Troy? What to have this opportunity as defensive coordinator?
Well, I mean, the easy answer is Coach Parker, but I would say the answer inside of the profession is the body of work that I've laid to this point. I've worked my way up from the bottom. I've coached every position besides corners, and we can talk about that another day, but I've been special teams coordinator, defense coordinator a couple different times, and done it at a high level. I have a great ability to connect with people, which allows our guys to play with confidence that we've had in the past, and you can see it take place already with the guys we have on the team. So I think I've just worked to this point and earned this opportunity. Obviously, it made it easier with Coach Parker and our relationship. and it being something that we've talked about for a long time, but still we had to hold up our end and put a product out there that was worth this opportunity. And I think we've done that to this point, and I'm excited to do it moving forward.
Philosophically, how would you describe your defense? What do you want to do? What do you try to do?
I want to dictate. I want to be the aggressor. I'm not a big fan of sit back and wait and let the offense just chip away at you and do those things. There's a time and place for it, but I want to dictate. I want offenses to be told what they have to do, and our kids, our young men, to understand the weaknesses of each call and the strengths of each call, and be okay with giving up a field flat if we call cover three. We got answers for those things. But I want to be a dictator in terms of dictating the tempo, in terms of dictating what offenses are doing. I want this team to play unbelievably hard, to be aggressive, to play with confidence, to communicate. And then the biggest piece, I want them to play together. Like I said it on the podcast with Barry I was on the other day. There's nothing that drives me more nuts than seeing a young man run out there and beating on his chest and making it all about him when he's not even close to the person that made the play. There's 11 pieces out there, and they all have to do their jobs in order for people to make plays. So I want them to play together. I don't want to see a group that celebrates with each other, that uplifts each other when things get bad, and it fights, and they fight every single day.
Thank you.
Dontae, this is Rosie Langelo at WSFA. How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Pretty good. I wanted to ask you just, there's a lot of guys that left on this defense. I'm sure you've heard it many of times so far. Just for the guys that are returning, Keyshawn Swanson specifically, what have you noticed from him, and just how do you replace a defensive group like that was there the past 2 years?
Well, I'll answer that last part first. You replace it with a lot of people. Like, there's not going to be one or two guys that come in and take this thing over. Because we've got and the number doesn't matter what percentage we have to replace. We know what that is. The guys do, the staff do. We've got a big number that we've got to replace, and we're going to do it with all hands on deck. That's what I told the group in the first unit meeting that we had, is that we've got to replace this, and it's going to be from the people that are in this room. Having guys like Keyshawn back, having guys like Stringer and Starling and those guys back, and the guys up front, Medina. And when you get to Philip Lee's back, Eric Shaw, or Trey Shaw, I was about to say his government name, sorry, Trey Shaw, and those guys that have played high-quality football, they help. Keyshawn has been a tremendous leader to this point. He's been a great worker. I think he's been in a black jersey every single week in our workouts. He's led by example. He's led by his words. And he's held this group together and shown them how to practice and prepare like champions, which they are. So those guys help tremendously, but we're going to count on every one of them. Everybody that's on that side of the ball is going to be used, and they're going to be needed. And we got big shoes to fill, but that's the excitement about it. That's what gets you up in the morning, is that challenge. You don't want anything to be easy. You want it to be worked for. So we're all excited about filling that void, and excited to see where we move forward.
Hey, Dontae, this is John Johnson from the Dothan Eagle. I know you'll still be working with safeties, correct?
Yes, sir.
How do you kind of plan to oversee everything during the practice sessions as a coordinator?
I think that's something I've done even when I was just a position coach, is look at the bigger picture. We're really blessed here. I have a graduate assistant under me at the safety position, John Beckley, who is going to be a tremendous football coach. We were lucky to keep him this spring. He had a couple job opportunities that didn't work out for him, but he's going to help me tremendously in allowing me to give him more responsibility, because he's ready for that responsibility. And you can see, when people just have it, he's got it. Whatever that is, he's got it about him, and he works his butt off. So he'll be a tremendous help to be able to help with those safeties, so that I can transition my eyes to other places and make sure the big picture is connected in the ways that we need it to.
Hey, one follow-up real quick. You mentioned Keyshawn was in a black jersey during workouts. What's the significance of that?
It's our warrior status. Like, he's won 6 or more without penalties, without loafs. He's just dominated his group. We tier those guys in every workout, and it changes after every workout to make sure we're having the best matchups. And he's won every single one of our Trojan Wars.
Thank you.
Hey, Dontae, had you ever been to Troy before you took this job?
I had not. I've been all over this state, but I've never made it down this far to Troy. My first job was at North Alabama, so I know the northern part of the state a little bit better. But I had never made it this way. It was when on December, what was that, 28th or 27th, whenever we made it down here. was the first time that I had stepped foot in Troy.
First impressions of the facilities when you got here.
Not just the facilities and athletics, but this university as a whole is extremely impressive. Everybody that I talk to that hasn't been down here, all I can say is good thing. It's beautiful, first and foremost. It's laid out perfectly. The chancellor's wife and them have done an unbelievable job. And in these facilities over here, you would think it was Power Five, and it's not to compare, but we're on that level. They've done an unbelievable job of putting this building together and giving us resources to be able to do our jobs the best.
Hey guys, I appreciate y'all being here. I just want to say we are looking forward to getting started tomorrow morning on the field finally. It's been a fast, 6 weeks since I got on campus, got the playbook installed, and through winter workouts during February and the first week and a half or two of March. And really just looking forward to see the guys get after it starting tomorrow. I know the real football, I guess you should say, won't start till practice 3, which is next Tuesday. But we'll at least get to see us align, assign, execute, throw the ball around, run around a little bit, and looking forward to that. But I'll take any questions, whatever you want to talk about.
Hey, Sean, this is John Johnson at the Dothan Eagle. Going back to when you were recruiting Goose Crowder, what did you see in him, and how fun has it been reuniting with him here?
Yeah, he was a great player in high school. The big thing with him is there wasn't a route that he couldn't throw. He's got phenomenal touch on the football, very accurate passer. We recruited him to West Virginia, and the bottom line was he was ready to play, and I think he was third on the depth chart there, so transferred down here. And the one thing about him since reuniting with him is he's really gotten his body under control, and what I mean by that is he's down to about 212 now from I think he was 225, 230 at West Virginia, so he's slimmed down. His feet are faster. He's definitely taking more care of his body, and I'm excited to see him execute the offense this spring.
Hey, it's Craig Stevenson, AO.com. What's it been like, 5-6 years later, coming back to Troy? And I don't know, with the COVID thing, that you had some guys there a long time, but I don't know that anybody's still there from when you were there before, player-wise, right?
No, they just left. So when I was here in 18, to give you kind of where it is Gunner was his first year here in 18. So he redshirted that year, and I'll get to watch him throw out here at Pro Day this afternoon. So that was kind of the last recruiting class that we brought in when I was here before.
What's it been like to come back, 5-6 years later?
It's been awesome. This is home to my family. All 3 of my girls were born here. When I GA'd here in 08 and 09, my first 2, Heidi and Chloe, were born here. And then we left for a season and came back. And a few years later, my youngest, Maggie, who's 6, she was born here. So this is home to our family. Fired up to be back. Love this place. I know I didn't play here, but in my heart, this is basically as close to as my alma mater as I can get. So I know the whole family's excited to get down here, hopefully in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and kind of get our feet back in the ground in Troy.
Coach, this is Rosie Langelo from WSFA. Just what can people expect from your offense? Kind of take us through how you want to do it.
Well, the simple and not smart aleck answer is we want to be able to move the football and score points in however way we can do that. In this offense, the way it's built, as you look at the history of it, back in 08 and 09, we ran the same offense. We threw the ball around a lot, okay? And then you look at what we did last year at West Virginia. We ran the ball really well, being the leading Power 5 rushing team in the country. So we're going to do whatever it takes to be successful here, and that is what we have to use spring practices is to evaluate who are we going to be in our identity. Are we going to be a team that throws the ball to set up the run, or are we going to be a team that runs the ball to set up the pass? And that's something us as a staff we have to figure out over the next 15 practices.
Damian Taylor and what you've learned about him through conversations.
I'm sorry, could you start that over?
I wanted to ask you about Damian Taylor and what you've learned about him through the conversations that you've had.
I've heard nothing but great things about him. I'm looking forward to seeing how he responds and goes out here this spring, and pretty fired up to watch him and go from there.
I'm sure you work with a lot of great offensive minds in your time. Just what kind of sets Gerad Parker apart from?
Jared's got all the energy in the world. Like he's a player's coach, and if you know him, you're gonna love him. And he's great for the community. He's a great fit. The guys respond to him really well. Like you're never gonna get him in front of a team and him just be blah. Like he's gonna bring it every single day. He's got an edge about him that makes you want to work hard for him. And I'm really fired up that he's a head coach here.
There's obviously a lot of pieces that are important on offense, but the one that everyone seems to really gravitate to first is going to be the quarterback. You're losing one in Gunnar Watson that's been starting here for a while. So how is this? I mean, is there a competition aspect going into it, or is there somebody you guys are looking at to kind of step into that role already, or how's that going to go?
There's always going to be a competition at quarterback. I mean, you have to be able to compete to gain experience and to get better. If you're not competing, if somebody's not competing with somebody else, then you're taking a step backwards. So there's going to be definitely competition. We have our rotation set going into day one. Now that could change day two, but we do have it set going into day one. And I'll say this, that we've got 3 guys in the room this spring, and all 3 of them are going to get anywhere between 25 and 38 reps each practice. So it's split pretty evenly as we go. And you know, my goal is for each of them to get better every single day, and if that happens, then who starts in September will take care of itself.
Hey, Sean, Goose and Tucker, and who's the third that you're talking about?
Jameson.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? That's pretty easy.
That's it. Give him something else.
Anything else? What do y'all want to see us do offensively?
I want to ask you about Chris Lewis, obviously going through adversity right now. So what have you talked with him? Have you kind of just met him yet? What do you know about him?
I haven't had a chance to meet him. He's been up at the hospital, and I know I got here late, and he was already going through everything. But I can say this: family and friends and the whole staff here, players included, got nothing but prayers for him. And the most important thing right now for CeeLou is to take care of what he's got to take care of, and everything else will fall into place after that. But we wish him nothing but the best.
I know we asked Gerad Parker about if he'd gone back and looked at any videos, kind of self-scout this team out right now. He said that's something he's not particularly interested in at the moment. What about you? Have you gone back and looked at any of the film, or are you kind of in that same boat?
I really haven't, because to me, it really doesn't matter about the past. It's what we can evaluate and go through and see live in the spring, and that's what we're focused on, is getting this offense installed, teaching it all the details of it to each one of these guys, and trying to get them to execute it. And we'll learn all we need to learn about them as we go through the next 15 practices.